Like many modern women, you've worked hard to create a life that feels full, meaningful, and deeply yours. And now the conversation has started to shift. This one question is not urgent exactly, but it's not going away either. Should you freeze your eggs? On one hand, you have plenty of time. On the other, you're running out of it. It is enough to make anyone spiral a little. So, before panic takes over, let's talk about what is actually happening biologically, because understanding this is one of the most empowering things a woman can know about her own body. Let's begin with the single most important biological fact about female fertility. You are born with all the eggs you will ever have. Unlike men whose bodies produce millions of new sperm continuously throughout their lives, a woman's egg supply is fixed. In the womb, at around 20 weeks, the ovaries hold somewhere between 6 and 7 million eggs. By birth, that has already fallen to 1 to 2 million. By puberty, roughly 300,000 to 500,000 remain. By around age 37, approximately 25,000 remain. By menopause, which happens on average around 51, only about 1,000 are left. This is simply how female reproductive biology works and has always worked. What changes alongside quantity is quality, and this is, if anything, the more clinically significant factor. Egg quality is essentially a measure of chromosomal integrity, whether an egg carries the correct 23 chromosomes needed to develop into a healthy embryo. Research suggests that around age 30, roughly 70 to 75% of eggs are chromosomally normal. By 35, it is closer to 50%. By 40, somewhere around 20 to 25%. These are population averages, not personal verdicts. Individual variation is real and significant, but the direction of travel is clear, and it is worth taking seriously. So, the question, should you freeze your eggs? Decisions made with your own data are almost always better than decisions made with assumptions, so there is a blood test worth knowing about. AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone. It gives useful context about the size of your reserve, which becomes relevant when considering freezing or simply wanting to understand your own timeline more clearly. There are also conditions that quietly affect fertility for years before anyone thinks to look, and that is worth knowing because most of them are very manageable once identified. PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, affects somewhere between 8 and 13% of women of reproductive age, and a significant proportion are unaware they have it. It disrupts the hormonal communication between the brain and the ovaries, resulting in irregular or absent ovulation. The reassuring part is that many women with PCOS have a good egg supply. The challenge is ovulation, not quantity. With the right support, pregnancy is very achievable for most women. Endometriosis affects around 10% of women overall, and between 30 and 50% of those experiencing fertility challenges. It causes inflammation and scarring that over time can affect the fallopian tubes and the pelvic environment. The hallmark is severe disruptive period pain. If your period pain is genuinely derailing your life, that warrants a proper conversation with a doctor. Thyroid dysfunction, both underactive and overactive, can affect ovulation and menstrual regularity because the thyroid plays a fundamental role in hormonal regulation throughout the body. It is easy to identify with a blood test and in most cases very manageable with treatment. If yours has not been checked, ask for it. And of course, lifestyle has a cumulative effect on egg health. Sleep, stress, diet, and movement are all worth being sensible about. Once you've gathered the information about your body and your health, the next big question is the money. And it's better to be honest about that part too. In the UK, a single egg freezing cycle, including medication and the procedure itself, costs on average around £6,000 to £8,000 all in per cycle. Add annual storage fees of roughly £125 to £450 per year after that. Then, if and when those eggs are used, thawing and a frozen embryo transfer adds approximately another £2,500 on top. But this is an investment in possibility, not a purchase of certainty. Egg freezing, oocyte cryopreservation, to use the clinical name, is ultimately a probability game. Survival rates after thawing for eggs frozen before 35 are typically around 90 to 95%, but not every egg fertilizes, becomes an embryo, implants, or leads to a live birth. That's why clinics recommend freezing 15 to 20 eggs. Banking more eggs increases the cumulative probability of success later on. Fewer eggs, or eggs frozen later, changes those odds. For a 36-year-old woman hoping to freeze around 20 mature eggs, 2 cycles is common, though some women may achieve that in 1 cycle and others may need 3, depending largely on ovarian reserve and response to medication. It is a real sum of money, and it does not come with a guarantee, which is what makes this decision so financially and emotionally intense. Only you can decide whether that possibility is worth the cost at this particular moment in your life. With actual data about your body, realistic expectations about success rates, and a clear understanding of what egg freezing is and isn't, here is what actually needs sitting with. The hardest question is not purely biological, it is personal. What if children never happen? It is worth asking that question without flinching away from it. Not because it is the likely outcome, but because sitting with it honestly matters. You already know how to ask hard questions. This is just one more. You have built a life you are proud of. You know who you are, the career, the independence, the clarity about what you will and won't accept. None of that is the problem. The niggling question is simply this: do you want a child? And if so, does freezing your eggs buy you the right kind of time? Because the right kind of time means something specific. It means time to meet a partner you actually want to build a life with. Someone who matches your conviction, not someone you settled for because the clock felt loud. Or it means time to make a considered, clear-eyed decision about going it alone, with a known or anonymous donor on your own terms when you are ready. Or do you take a different path, a career built with purpose, deep and lasting friendships, being a steady presence in the lives of children you love, as a godmother, an aunt, the person who shows up? For many women, the honest answer is that yes, that is a full life. Both are real paths. Both deserve the same respect. So get the AMH test, have a proper conversation with a specialist, understand your own numbers before deciding anything. One step at a time, not all at once. You have navigated harder things than this. You will handle this too. And whatever path you end up on, you will have a beautiful life. And knowing that, really knowing it, takes some of the desperation out of the decision, which is exactly the right place to be making it from.